Alright, so sorry I'm missing class today, but I have a little bit of a lesson that we're going to show. Miss Deng's going to show you on her computer so you guys can see what is to be expected on the test tomorrow. There's one piece of new information that we're going to cover quickly, and then I'll let you guys work on the review packet. So, a couple reminders. Your homework for tonight: you've got a test tomorrow. You have the review packet to check as well. Everything's going to be on Schoology, both the original and the answer key is already ready for you on Schoology. And you have a CSR for Quiz 2. If you haven't done it yet, please turn it in when you get a chance, as soon as possible. And then the grade report worksheet, which is due on Friday. That's the one where you're filling out the worksheet based on your grade report I gave to you yesterday. Now, last thing is, remember there's a tutorial today at lunch. Every time we'll have a test, we'll have a tutorial at lunch in case you want to review some more, but you'll need to bring your lunch in order to come to the tutorial. Alright, material on the test. First is the textbook, 7.1 to 7.2a, and 7.2a is what we're doing today in class. 7.1 is percents, the introduction of percents. Then you've got 8.1 and 8.2, which is about proportions. And we're going to review that again today in this demonstration. And then 5.2 and 5.7 are all dealing with decimals. So today's worksheet was something I want to review as well. So if you have today's worksheet, I'll give you about 5 seconds to find it. Pull it out. Alright, today's worksheet had 2 sections on the back side that you were working on, dealing with converting percents to decimals to fractions. And the one I want to focus on first is letter I, which is the one where it gives us 33 1/3%. We have to convert that to a decimal into a fraction. Well, since the percentage is in fraction format as a mixed number, we have to do a little bit of extra work. Remember, when you remove the percent sign, you divide by 100. So 33 1/3% is the same thing as saying 33.3 repeating percent, but also can be rewritten as 33 1/3 over 100. And we can then use that fraction, that complex fraction, to create a division problem. And that division problem can be solved, and we can get 1/3 as our result. Take a look, make sure you understand, because you'll see one of these tomorrow on your test. So just a quick recap. And then we know 1/3 is 0.3 repeating. If we do the long division, we'll get 0.3 repeating. The next one that I want to review is letter J. Letter J gives us 2/9 as a fraction. When we divide 2 divided by 9, remember 2 goes in the house, 9 is outside of the house. 9 is the divisor, 2 is the dividend. The quotient is 0.2 repeating. But that means when you do a percent, you move the decimal 2 places to the right, because you multiply by 100. So that you've got to move it 2 places to the right, but then you've got to include that overbar over your decimal 0.2, because it's still 22.2 repeating. You could also answer it as 22 2/9%. Alright, let's move forward. Writing proportions, the new material for today. So you may want to write this down somewhere. So take a moment, get out a sheet of paper or your spiral, a pencil or pen, so you can write down this information. While you're doing that, know that this material will be practiced on the review packet, and section 7.2 of your textbook will have plenty of proportion problems in case you want to do more. But I think you'll get it pretty quick. Alright, the thing we have to remember is this fundamental cipher, or this fundamental code right here. Part over whole equals percent out of 100. What that means is a fraction, the numerator is the part of the whole denominator. And that part is a percentage of the whole denominator. That's why we can write this proportion. Part over the whole equals percent out of 100. So let's throw back a little bit and remember about proportions and how they're solved. So if I give you a proportion with a variable in it, you're supposed to cross multiply. So we get 7 times 6 is 42. 3 times 7, or 3 times x is 3x, and you divide both sides by 3. X would equal 14. In a similar fashion, if you're given this proportion, you see that you've got a binomial in one of the pieces. Remember, it's 2 terms in one of the parts. You're going to have to use the distributive property to solve the equation. So you solve the equation. First you distribute the 9 times 3 and 9 times negative x equals 432. Subtract 27 from both sides, divide both sides by negative 9, you get negative 45. So remember those 2 pieces, because those you'll see on tomorrow's test as well. Alright, let's go back to this original problem. Part over the whole equals percent out of 100. Well, what about if I give you a sentence? And this is what you'll see on your test tomorrow. What percent of 30 is 25? So we're going to figure out where all these pieces go, and we can build a proportion to solve. So first things first, we're trying to figure out what percent. So that means the percent is the variable. Well, we know it's a percent out of 100. The 100 is always going to be there. It's always going to be 100. So it's a percent value. In this case, it's x, because that's what we're trying to find. What we're trying to find. The what question is the variable out of 100. And then the other two pieces include the part and the whole. So we have to look at the wording. Of 30 means out of the total 30 that they have, what percent is 25? So 25 is a piece of the whole 30. So you got to think. The piece means the part. The part goes on top. Is, the word is, usually goes with the part. And the word of usually goes with the whole. So we solve this equation by cross-multiplying and then dividing 2,500 divided by 30x, or divided by 30, and you get 83.3 repeating. So it's 83.3 repeating percent. Wait a second, Mr. G. Don't I have to move the decimal? No. What's going on here is that you've showed me that that's 83.3 out of 100. If you look at your proportion, 83.3 out of 100 means 83.3 repeating percent. So you don't need to move the decimal point whenever you're making a percent in proportions. All right, let's look at the second example. 16 is 40% of what number? Well, we got to look and see what we're given. Or we can start with what we're missing. If it says 16 is, that's a keyword, 40%, percent's another keyword, of what number? And the of is another keyword. So let's take a look. Well, the 40 over 100 we know because that's the percentage. That one's easy. And then the 16 is, well, that's the part. 16 is a part of the whole number. And the whole number is a mystery, so we're going to solve for it. It's x. So we cross multiply, and we get x equals 40. Let's do one more. What is 150% of 64? All right, so 150% of 64. Well, this one's a little different because that's over 100%. So you got to think about what your answer is probably going to be. In this case, they gave us the of 64 part. Well, of 64, that means that's the whole part. Of 64, the whole piece. So we draw our proportion just like this. The 64 goes on the bottom because it's the whole piece. What is, the what part is the part, the piece of 64. So we put that at the top, and then 150% of 100. And that's going to equal 96. X is going to equal 96 when we do the cross multiplication and then solve. So in all these problems, you've got to identify three pieces. We know where the 100 goes, so we don't have to identify that. But we need to identify the is, the of, and the percent. The is the part out of the whole. So the of is the whole, and then the percent is the percent. So the percent one's pretty easy. So it's really just deciphering the is and the of now. So we've got the percent out of 100, the is and the of. The is the part out of 100. So you got to look at the numbers. That'll help you figure out which one goes where. But you also got to figure out, are you looking for the piece or are you looking for the whole part of the number? So check it out. Start on page 3 in your review packet now. Open up Schoology. You can download the review packet. I would start on page 3. Get that finished. Check it using my answer key. And then you can try the rest of the packet. If you need more practice, go to 7.2. And there's more proportion problems. You can go to the review pages in the back of the textbook, or in the back of the textbook, in the back of the chapter, and check it there. Or you can come to tutorial and we can do more practice. Good luck. I will see you later on.